Hi, this is George Mount with Enterprise DNA, and in this video we're going to look at how to count distinct items using Excel, going from classic to modern approaches. Okay, so the idea of counting distinct values, I've got a list of names here, and some of these may be familiar to you. Now, what I want to know is how many unique names are in here. There are 7 names total, but how many are non-repeating? If I remove the duplicates, I get 5. Here's the list there. I'm going to do this in Excel. There are a few ways to do this, and we're going to look at, from the most classic to the most modern approach, how to do this. So we'll start with remove duplicates, then we'll do count distinct using the data model, and then we're going to use dynamic arrays, the unique function there. So we'll have a data set for you to follow along with. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll see you over in Excel. Okay, so what I have here is a data set of team records from Major League Baseball from 1995, I believe, through 2018. And what I want to know is how many unique baseball team names are there. So we've got this name column here. I want to count these up. Okay, so we're going to do 3 options. The first one is going to be available. This is the most traditional way. I'll go over to my data tab here. There's going to be an option to remove duplicates. That's going to work, but I'm going to actually copy and paste this to a new sheet because this is going to just write right over this data. And now if I remove duplicates, it'll ask us, well, what columns? The name column is what we want. I'll click OK, and it says, okay, 35 unique values remain, etc. So I saw from 35 there what the number is. I could also do this count A. Now I'm using count A rather than just count because count A also picks up text values. Count only picks up number values. So we can run that, and we see 35 unique team names. Okay, so that's option A. Pretty easy to use. We didn't need to write any functions. It's very, low code, but the fact that we have to hard code, that it messes up our original code, that's not great for me. So let's try another option. Now this one is going to be related to Power Pivot and the data model. We're going to create a pivot table report, and that's going to let us count those unique values. So what I'm going to do is insert a pivot table. So we have our data table here. It's called teams. We'll create it in a new worksheet. That's fine. The last thing I need to do is actually add this to the data model. And if I click OK, we'll get what looks like a plain old pivot table. And if you're not familiar with this, we won't go too much into it, but this is getting into Power Pivot and the data model. You could build a relational database using these tables and so forth. All we want to do is, I believe the column's called name. I'm going to put it in my values here. Now actually one thing I could do is list them here, which we did with the previous option, but I'm also going to aggregate it here. Now this is giving us a count, which is not what we want. I'm going to click on that value field, and I can actually summarize it, and this is not available in the classic pivot table. This one, distinct count, is only available in this data model. So it's the last one. We'll load this in. We get 35. So there's option B. And Power Pivot, this one's been around for almost 10 years now. Not really well known, but very, very powerful. And if you're using Power BI, you're probably familiar with the data model, DAX, etc. Same basic infrastructure being used here in Excel. Okay, so that's option A. We did the menu here. Option B, and let's move this over. We did the data model. And then option C, I'm going to use dynamic arrays. Now these are pretty brand spanking new, and you may not have them yet depending on what version of Excel you're on. So that's a big loss. This is only for 365, I believe. And I'm going to unique this. This is going to return all the unique values in any array. Now I'm going to select the team's name column. And this gives us a dynamic array. So this really gave us the same information as here, except in this case we're using a formula right? We didn't have to manipulate the source data. We can see where the source data is. So just a little more robust of a way to do this. And then from here, I can do kind of a similar thing. And I'm going to count A. Now you're going to see when I select this entire range, there's this pound sign. Now this is the dynamic array spill operator. When I do this, it's telling Excel, I want to operate on the dynamic array that's associated with this cell, not the cell itself per se, but the dynamic array started in that cell. So if I count A on A1 with that pound sign, we get 35 there as well. So 3 different ways to do this. Dynamic arrays are really only a couple of years old, generally released more in like a matter of months to most users. So this is a pretty new way of doing it. So let's recap here. Okay, so count unique values in Excel from classic to modern. We started with the classic remove duplicates approach. That one has been around. We just have to use the menu. There are no functions. However, it doesn't make me real comfortable that we have to copy and paste, and there's not a lot of integrity when we do it. Then we get to the data model, which is pretty cool. This is also menu driven, no formulas, dynamic. Not everybody may know about the data model, might not be familiar with it. And we do have to refresh the data, right, if we wanted to get updates. So that's another thing when you're using pivot tables, or the pivot table report as it's called now with Power Pivot. And then we got to the very modern use of the unique function, dynamic arrays. This is formula driven, which may be a pro or con depending on who you ask. The big downside of this one is it's a little verbose. We are using 2 functions. Also the fact that it's not as common to have this function available. So there you have it. And if you have other ways to do this, let us know. We would love to see. There's always different ways to do things in Excel, so these may totally not be the only 3 ways to do it. I'll admit that right now. So let us know in the comments how you like to do it. And thank you very much for watching. Again, this is Enterprise DNA. I'm George Mount, and hope you learned something here.
Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to Enterprise DNA TV. If you enjoyed the content covered in this particular tutorial, please throw the video a like. It really helps us and we really appreciate it. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Enterprise DNA TV channel. We have a huge amount of content coming out all the time from myself and a range of content creators, all dedicated to improving the way that you use Power BI and the Power Platform. Lastly, check out Enterprise DNA's website. Plenty of resources and further learning that you can access very easily. All the best. Take care.